Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I came through the draft system and I'm joined by a man for whom we spent all the TAM. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello.
Do you know what TAM stands for?
Target Allocation Money or Taylor Acquisition Money.
That's what I was going to go with. Taylor Acquisition Money.
Jokes.
Or Terrific Audio Money. How about that?
Let's stop what we're behind, I think.
Well, so the news today is, it's not official yet, but there are lots and lots of reports out there. Zlatan Ibrahimovic will sign for the LA Galaxy for TAM, which means I saw $3 million over 2 years.
Yep.
I'm no math whiz, but I'm going to say that's $1.5 million salary per year. That's the maximum TAM amount, right?
I've seen a couple different articles written about this, and it seems like no one is 100% confident that it's 2 years, 1.5 each year, or maybe it's 2 years, $3 million each year. I'm assuming it's 2 years, 1.5 each year. But as a result, I've seen it written as like...
We're halfway through the year, so that makes it extra strange, yeah.
Well, halfway through the year in terms of MLS just started, though, so... It's that's like true, we've got true. 2 full seasons with him, I guess. Yeah. But either way, I've seen people kind of hedge their bets with the way they've written that one out.
Yep.
Either way, $3 million at some point for 2 seasons of Zlatan, theoretically.
So we did the math on this, right? When he was at Manchester United...
He made slightly more than that.
He made a lot more than that, right? In his most recent contract came out to about $6.5 million a year.
Yeah.
And that was his reduced contract when he was like injured and I'm just going to come back and I'm around if you need me type contract. Now he's earning even way less than that, right? I think, as I understand it, if you break down his MLS salary, if you assume it's $1.5 million a year, if you break it down to a weekly wage, which is normally how we think of Zlatan, right? $30,000 a week.
Yeah, and that's like just
Seth Johnson money.
Well, that's also straight up like without taxes taken out. So then that's the question: is this before or after tax? I'm going to assume it's after tax, just because that seems.
I don't think MLS can do those deals.
I guess not, but that just seems like such a small amount for Zlatan. Not that he needs the money, but just from a like a standpoint of this figure, like global icon, you would expect him to make a little bit more.
Well, I think that's what makes me like weirdly feel okay-ish about this whole thing, and not the MLS Retirement League thing. Is that it's Zlatan making so much less money than he's used to that it's not about him cashing in. It seems to be about him just wanting to live in Los Angeles and play some soccer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the optimistic version of this.
I think the people who are trotting out it's a retirement league are people who don't like Major League Soccer. That is genuinely my feeling with this one, because the reality is, outside of a few clubs, I think most teams, if given the opportunity to sign Zlatan, even right now, would take that opportunity. And so, like, I don't think it's just Major League Soccer. If anything, they're not throwing money at him. Ives Galarcep made that point that I think at this time last year it was like $6.5 million, something like that, a year to get him.
That's some Giovinco money, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I have a feeling that if Southampton had the opportunity to get Zlatan right now, they might go for that. Stoke City might go for that.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't make them a retirement league. So I don't think it does for Major League Soccer either. That doesn't mean I think it's a great idea. But I understand why you would do it if you're the Galaxy.
Here's how I'm going to think of this. This is a test for Major League Soccer. I feel like Zlatan has been sent to test Major League Soccer.
Oh boy.
Do you remember when Beckham came in 2007?
He's a little Terminator-like, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's like been sent from the future to see how Major League Soccer does.
Right. So Beckham came in 2007, and there's all this pressure that he's such a big name that they would like try and get him into games when he wasn't really ready. And it was more about just get him on the field so people can come and stare at the celebrity David Beckham. I'm already hearing this sort of route. I mean, he's not signed yet, right? We're thinking it's going to be tomorrow. Maybe there'll be a press conference. That they're trying to get him on the field for March 31st for the LA Galaxy, LAFC derby, even though he's probably not ready, right? Because he hasn't played in a long, long time. I'm hoping Major League Soccer can resist that temptation to sort of cash in on their asset and like show him off to the world and treat him like a normal player.
Yeah,
that's the test.
If I'm the Galaxy, I wouldn't even have him dress for that game. Even if you want to like, and I understand why there's that desire, because they want it to seem like, oh, like we're the ones who run LA, we're the ones who get that talent, we're the ones who are on top of the world, even if LAFC have started off the season on a pretty hot form. You can do that
with him in the stand, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because if you put him on the bench, even if he doesn't play, you're still putting him on the bench. Cameras are going to cut to him if he goes to warm up. Fans are going to get excited. People are going to be disappointed if he doesn't play. And I don't think he's ready to play yet, obviously, because he hasn't been playing. He's only, I think, just returned, or had only just returned to Man United's first team training. So it seems like it would not be a good idea to rush him in there. And then even if you do and he doesn't perform well, then he doesn't perform well, and that doesn't look good either. I think my favorite summary of this comes from Reddit user Copa de Orzo. good name, who wrote, "This is a terrible mistake, and I could not be more excited." His LA Galaxy flare next to his name.
That's been a lot of people's response, right? Is that if you're trying to move the story forward and Major League Soccer is no longer the sort of Frank Lampard late 30s league, yes, but also it's Zlatan. It's got this special aura to it, and we all want to see him.
But I don't get, like, who cares? Who cares if clubs still want to sign that type of player? Like, I think just because some didn't work, like Lampard, Pirlo maybe to some extent, Gerrard to some extent, but like you still have plenty of players that it did work out for and did work out with. And so I just don't think you need to be like, well, it's one or the other. Oh, they signed him and it didn't work, therefore it doesn't work. Oh, they signed him and it did, therefore it does. Like,
it's almost as if all players are not the same.
Right? It's weird. It's weird. And that there can be circumstances and exceptions that allow for multiple ideas.
Okay, so let's think of it this way then. How much has Zlatan got left to give? And
Not much.
I'm going to ask you as a Man United fan, when he came to the Premier League, he kind of talked a big game, right? Wasn't the thing about, like, we don't compare lions to humans when he was talking about himself versus other strikers? If you look back on his, year and a half it ended up kind of being, as Zlatan for Man United and in the Premier League, success or not success?
I mean, I'm surprised you're phrasing it that way because I would say unequivocal success.
Unequivocal success?
Yeah, I mean,
why?
Well, I guess...
Did you guys win the league and I missed it?
Well, I would say given that outside of the knee injury, and I think that's what kind of changes the focus a little bit and maybe is where you're coming from. I mean, for me, 53 appearances, 29 goals, that's not bad. 10 assists means he helped link up play and do a lot for the attack. And winning the Europa League put them back in the Champions League. I think he has a big part to play there.
Yeah.
So no, they didn't win the league, obviously.
He didn't play in the final because of that injury, right? But he was involved in the run-up to it.
But and so you're correct. Didn't win the Premier League. But I think also... with the way things are now for Man United, it's easy to forget how they were when he first came in. And that was with Jose first coming in, and it was Paul Pogba, and it was this suddenly like, oh, okay, it's United again. It's that team that can get anybody and bring anybody in and have that allure.
So some temporary swagger and a few goals at the very least.
Yeah.
Maybe he does the same for the LA Galaxy?
Maybe. But I will say I am sort of sad that he didn't get one more game for Man United. I wouldn't be surprised if and when he gets a testimonial at some point, it is either with Man United against Milan or with Milan against Man United.
Oh, that's interesting.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Where would Zlatan have his testimonial?
I'm inclined to think Milan because that seems to be the place that he enjoyed the most.
That's interesting.
Or at least I still hear him talk about, but it might be United. It very well could be. Who knows? I would like that because I do think people would like to be able to cheer for him one more time, and that obviously won't happen now.
Can we think about him briefly in terms of where he fits in with the LA Galaxy? So right now they have, it seems to me they play Ola Kamara as the sort of farthest forward, and Gio dos Santos sort of most overrated player in Major League Soccer according to the vote by other players, sort of underneath him. I think that's harsh, but there we go. Where does Zlatan fit in with those two?
No idea.
Right?
That's really my answer is... this is what I said to you in the LA Galaxy season preview, is that I didn't really get this move when it was first being talked about then.
I forgot this had been rumoured for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it requires the Galaxy to change the way they play. So it means he is either, like, they're going to have to change the way they play so he can start, or it means he's coming off the bench, which I don't think is a thing. This is what we said at the time. I don't think that's a thing he's going to want to do.
I remember thinking that maybe he's more amenable to that, and that because the TAM thing was rumoured, right? The fact that he's not a big money DP, is a 1.5 million a year TAM signing, maybe suggests that he's not coming in to be the boss. He might be a little bit part time.
Because Zlatan is just so like humble and doesn't refer to himself in the third person and happily takes second billing.
But he may be more realistic about his knees, for example, right now.
I'm not sure anything about Zlatan is realistic. I think if you're expecting him to change the way he has acted and behaved his entire career, I think that you're maybe setting yourself up for some trouble.
Could he not have like 100% of the swagger, but just like 50% of the time?
Genuinely, no, I don't think you can. Like, I know that you're kind of asking that jokingly, but the reality is, no. I think that if your personality is such, if your entire, like, not demeanor, not existence, but your persona is built on, like, I'm the greatest, I will win, I always win.
Yeah.
You can't then just be like, but sometimes I don't.
I guess
sometimes
you
I
can't
sit
be
on the
like,
bench, it's fine.
Yeah, you can't say, I'm the greatest, but I'm kind of old now, so go easy.
So
it's not the same, is it?
I mean, no, and maybe he will come in and light the league up and score goals and be amazing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
He'll put some highlights together. How long till he makes SportsCenter?
Oh, he'll make SportsCenter the day he signs. I mean,
okay.
You mean in terms of what he does on the field?
Yeah, I mean, a specific Zlatan-y highlight.
I mean,
some sort of overhead kick or volley from distance.
Given past his precedent.
Can Joe Hart play in MLS, for example?
I think both his first appearance for Man United and then when he came back after that knee surgery, I think both times he went for an overhead kick on the first game.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the first time he sees the pitch, he does something crazy.
Okay, very specific prediction. Zlatan's LA Galaxy debut, no matter when that is, we'll see an overhead kick attempt at the very least.
I think that is a fair prediction. So, I mean, I just still think I understand why the Galaxy would do it. I understand why you would want him in the league. I think it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch and maybe not always fun if you're a Galaxy fan.
Mm-hmm. But could we trade him for a bunch of Los Dos Academy kids?
I mean, you could try that. I wonder how he would feel. Oh, you're going to be playing at Los Dos this weekend. What's that now?
What's that now? I don't speak Spanish.
What is Los Dos?
All right, should we move on?
I think he does speak Spanish. I think he speaks like 7 languages.
Yeah, it
one
would
of those.
surprise me.
Yep.
Should we move on? Because it is International Friendlies Week.
It is.
We've been very focused on the USA-Paraguay game, which is next Tuesday, March 27th. We've also had a little think about Netherlands-England. And there's a bunch of other games that we've sort of, done some thinking about, because this is World Cup warm-up, right? This is as I understand it, these are the last set of friendlies before managers name their preliminary squads for the World Cup. So it's a time for experimentation and interesting ideas and seeing what teams are all about. For me, honestly, it's part of my prep for doing our World Cup previews and getting ready for the World Cup. So I'm suddenly very interested in lots of different teams. But I still want to start with England.
I mean, obviously.
If that's okay
that
with
works
you.
for me.
So this Friday, 3:45 Eastern, it's Netherlands hosting England. We still can't find it on television.
Nope. We sure cannot.
We can't.
beIN Sports Connect say they have it, but they...
Do they really? Oh, I wasn't sure how official that was.
They listed on their website, but I don't know for like which country, which online platform that
beIN
might
Sports
be.
is around, right?
So it might also be that they do not have it. Yes.
beIN Sports is the new British Empire. Covers a lot of the globe.
Kinda. You're not wrong. So then you did some more research, right? And you just couldn't find it anywhere.
I still couldn't find anything. I mean, if you're determined to watch it, and I am determined to watch it, you can find it. But I don't think we're going to recommend any dodgy streams to our listeners.
Yeah, just go and fly to the Netherlands.
That's one way. That's one way to definitely do it.
I would suggest leaving now.
But let's preview it a little bit because we've had some England news.
We have,
and the England news is that Jordan Pickford will start in goal. Is that confirmed?
Good day for the Jordans.
Good day for the Jordans? So who's the other Jordan?
Jordan Henderson will be starting.
Jordan
and
Henderson
captaining.
will be captaining England. I think I kind of assumed that anyway because that's what he has been doing. All right, what else do we know?
Well, we know it won't be a goalkeeper because Daryl doesn't allow for that.
Jack Wilshere is out.
But Jordan Pickford will wear the number 1 and start, and Jack Wilshere is out for the Netherlands game, might return for the Italy game in England.
So that makes the team a little easier to pick with no Jack Wilshere.
I mean, did you think he might start?
Not really.
Okay. I guess only to go back to your other point, or your earlier point, that if you're trying to maybe just see like what combination might work because you got the provisional roster date, that maybe this is where you might have seen Jack Wilshere, but I think it makes more sense, especially away to the Netherlands, to put out your strongest side possible. And
so, you've got that goalkeeper question seems to be half answered by Southgate. He's saying, I'm going to have a gamble on Pickford. I've already played him once against Germany, I believe. I think if Pickford plays well in this friendly, he could have like 1.5 hands on the starting World Cup jersey, which is pretty impressive for a guy with only 1 cap right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not bad.
The other thing I'm watching for in this game is it's obvious Harry Kane is the number 1 choice at centre forward. This seems to me like a bit of a contest to see who is either his partner, if we go with that 3-5-2, because Kane's injured, so other players are there, or who's the plan B if Harry Kane's not there. Every team needs a plan B, or you're looking at plan get knocked out, right?
And our assumption is that plan B right now is Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, but that's very much an assumption. I don't think I've heard Southgate or seen Southgate say anything to that effect. It just seems the most obvious, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think so. But you could have other options in there. Maybe it's Marcus Rashford gets some minutes up top just to see what he can do. Maybe he starts out wide. Maybe he doesn't play at all.
Danny Welbeck is the other option.
That's the other option. So it will be interesting to see what they go for in the attack and how he changes things if that attack doesn't get going early.
Other thing to look out for is the England defence.
Yes.
So famously, no Gary Cahill, no Chris Smalling. Alfie Mawson is in there. Harry Maguire is in there. Tarkowski is in there. But I've heard a rumour that Eric Dyer is going to play in that back 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll preface this by saying I just finished reading an article from The Guardian by Martin Lawrence, not that one. I'm assuming at least, because it was spelled differently.
Could diversify.
Pseudonym. And his expectation was that it would be John Stones, Harry Maguire, and Joe Gomez.
All right.
All of that seemed to be based on...
Is it weird that I'm excited by that?
No, not at all. Especially because that... idea was based on their statistics from this season, specifically their passing accuracy, because as he has said, he being Gareth Southgate, that he wants them to be able to build out of the back, that he thinks basically they had a great defensive record, but their lack of productivity up top starts with a lack of distribution from the back. I think those three, at least from this roster, seem like they would give you the best opportunity, but Eric Dyer probably does as well.
Here's the other interesting thing for me is, does playing out of the back, does it mean short passing Manchester City style, or does it mean kind of more direct balls from the back three to the front two? I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I would say there's another possibility in there too. And for me, it's something we've seen. I think Man City have done it quite a few times this season, but it's that Bayern Munich certainly do it. It's the driven 30-yard ball on the ground that I've seen some center backs hit this season, and it is that sort of you bypass that the middle part of your team.
Yeah,
and you do get it, I guess, into the attack, but it's not so much like a ball over the top or into the channels. It is like driven to bypass any sort of like line of pressure that might have been set up, and then they have to kind of scramble to deal with it.
I believe that's called breaking the lines.
There we go.
It is, right?
Yeah. And so I think that is probably what they're going to be trying to do. Would be my uninformed guess, only because I don't think the long ball over the top works. I don't necessarily think without Harry Kane they're going to have much success with Jamie Vardy like trying to hold it up and bring it down and lay it off. So it seems like that penetrating ball into the feet of more technical players like Dele Alli and Raheem Sterling would be a good way to go.
I like the look of that. Okay, one final thing I want to talk about with this game.
I just got the image of like driven ball from John Stones into the feet of like Dele Alli, laid off to Jordan Henderson, who chips it over the top for Jamie Vardy to run onto bang goal.
All right.
There we go.
Maybe, was that a temporary premonition?
Yeah.
Your eyes were spinning in the back of your head, so maybe...
Yeah. They were. I spoke in tongues briefly. You just couldn't hear it. Yeah.
The other thing is the left side. So we've got probably a wing-back, we're expecting, right? Danny Rose has not been playing that much for Tottenham. He's in that weird contract dispute, as I understand it, and he's kind of fallen out with Pochettino. Spurs fans may have more information on that, but he's not always been there, has he?
Swapped here for Luke Shaw?
Bertrand, I believe, has had some injuries, so hasn't been regular. And suddenly, Ashley Young has appeared in the squad. It seems to me we're going to get to see Ashley Young play left mid / left wing back for England, either against Netherlands or next Tuesday against Italy.
I would be surprised if we don't.
Yeah. Otherwise, why is he there? He's not going to be on the attacking midfielders.
Exactly. And it seems like this is a call-up for what he's been doing at club level. So
Which
it seems
is playing
like,
left back pretty successfully.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like it would make sense to give him a run out, probably in this game against the Netherlands, and then if it goes well, maybe you do it again against Italy to see if it's actually a pattern. But if that's an area that you're really looking at to figure out who can start there, it makes sense to start the people that you've brought in.
Also, not a World Cup preview.
That was a very happily moment for me. My second of the day.
Not a World Cup preview moment, but England are playing the Netherlands. Ronald Koeman is the new coach. If you don't know much about England and Ronald Koeman, he's basically the guy that prevented us from going to the 94 World Cup. Do you know this story?
Yes, vaguely. I was busy shaking my head because I forgot about Ronald Koeman.
So famous qualifier in Rotterdam in 93, England-Netherlands. Koeman brings down David Platt, pulls him back on the edge of the area.
I do not know this yet.
Doesn't get sent off, even though it was a goal-scoring opportunity. Later in the game, Koeman steps up, hits a free kick. It's blocked by Paul Ince. Referee calls it back because he says Ince has left the wall too early. Koeman takes it again. Bang, classic Koeman top corner free kick. So Koeman really has, he probably doesn't even think about it, but England very much think about Ronald Koeman and how he stopped them going to the 94 World Cup.
Yikes.
Yeah.
You never want to be...
I have to support Ireland.
You never want to be the England in that scenario of the one that's obsessed about the situation versus the other one who doesn't even remember that it happened.
Koeman's just like, what now? Yeah. So yeah, Koeman's
I'm fighting the urge to reference Street Fighter. Street Fighter the movie, that is.
I haven't seen that. Why are you fighting the urge to reference Street Fighter?
Because it's in a horrific movie in which Jean-Claude Van Damme is an American soldier, obviously.
Guile?
Yes. M. Bison, the bad guy, Raul Julia, excellent work. He has that line of like Chung Li is hunting him down, and when she tells him all about like the time he massacred her family, he has no recollection, and he responds like, "For you, the most important day of your life was the day that Bison came to town, but for me, it was a Tuesday."
Wow,
which is such a vicious line.
That's some good writing for
what I'm saying.
For what I assume is a bad movie.
Oh, it's awful. It is ridiculously awful, but that line is great.
All right, we're slightly off topic, but genuine question: was that movie called Street Fighter 2 or just Street Fighter?
Street Fighter.
Because Street Fighter 2 was the famous video game, right?
Yes.
I remember playing Street Fighter 2 as if but Street Fighter 1 never seemed to actually exist.
It was out there somewhere.
It was? But no one played it, right?
I don't think so.
No, I don't remember putting any 50p's in Street Fighter 1.
Me neither. For a variety of reasons.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of the Netherlands, they have a slightly younger team.
Yep.
Matthijs de Ligt, the 18-year-old Ajax centre-back, is there. Van der Beek, who we're very excited about.
Bring it full circle. I believe Blanca from Street Fighter starts for the Dutch national team, so that's also part of this.
We've moved on, Taylor. We've moved on.
He's part orange, just saying.
A name to watch is Justin Kluivert, who is obviously Patrick Kluivert's son.
Yep.
He's only 18. He is starting on the wing for Ajax. I believe he plays on the right wing. That really is a guy worth watching if you do manage to find a stream or some highlights of this game.
If you do. And I've heard a few, or seen a few people on Twitter in the know sort of screaming without writing in all caps that, like, watch Justin Kluivert. Like, you should be paying attention to this kid.
So, I've just realised if he's on the right, England's left back / left wing back is going to be having to deal with him, right? It could be Ashley Young trying to handle Justin Kluivert.
All right. I like this.
I'm not sure he will.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So we'll see. So watch that side of the field.
You might make the argument that if he can't handle a teenager playing for a team that did not make the World Cup, then maybe he shouldn't be starting there in the first place.
Flip side, you could argue, well, he definitely won't have to face him at the World Cup.
Well, that's good.
All right, lots more international friendlies to talk about. We've got your Leo Messi and Brazil and Germany and all kinds of big names to talk about. But first, today's show is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Roughneck Scarves are the official providers of scarves for US soccer. I went and had a look at their US soccer scarves, Taylor, and I have a favourite. It's the One Nation, One Team scarf. It's got the nice sort of red stripes across it. I feel like maybe the Federation doesn't live up to the One Nation, One Team logo or saying, what's it? Motto. Motto is the word I'm looking for. But it does look good on a scarf, and it is something worth aiming for.
I think the official motto of US soccer right now is One Nation, $90 a ticket, I think is what it actually says.
I thought it was, we'll deal with it in July.
Or that too. One Nation, TBD.
But if you are committed and you want to buy a scarf, a US soccer scarf, we recommend going via Roughneck Scarves. You can also create your own custom scarf. So we asked the question on Twitter, if you were to design a Roughneck scarf to prepare for the US game against Paraguay, what would it look like?
We did ask that. I have not seen the responses yet, so it occurred to me that I may have just unintentionally stolen somebody. So I scanned them frantically. I don't think I have. But Mike Bate, that would be Mike B8, says Pulisic on one side, McKennie on the other. It's the best possible scarf. You just wish you could show both sides together instead of separate.
That's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And accurate.
Tristan Gilliland Kunkel says, mine would have a traditional USMNT theme and look very inconspicuous, but would also have technology to block out all stale and annoying World Cup jokes.
That would be useful technology.
I'm not sure Roughneck Scarves can offer that just yet. Check back in 2019.
Can we... I want to go off of that and say, first of all, do check for that. Second of all, in our World Cup primers, we're going to start doing more like World Cup previews, World Cup conversations. Excuse me.
That's for Jim Brochard.
I do think one of the shows should be like a guide for how to ignore World Cup previews. And if they use like 5 or more of the specific phrases that you and I have come to detest, then you can just go ahead and delete that window.
We'll be looking to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Let's actually do that show.
We'll be looking to. Oh, my goodness.
Let's actually do that.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good. All right. Eric Freeman.
He'll be looking to recreate his club form.
I don't want to talk to you anymore. Do you think he'll be looking to prove himself at the international stage after a successful season with his club? Eric Freeman, bring your kids to work day on one side, something creative on the other side. There you go, Eric. That is a U.S. soccer approach. Just do something creative.
Just ask Christian Pulisic to design the other side for you.
Yeah.
John Adams, played by Paul Giamatti, says on side 1, he'd have a bunch of baby eagles on it with, I guess, a 29-year-old Eric Lehigh as a Papa Eagle, as the oldest player on the roster. Also, #weird, #veteran locker room presence, #? So one side of the scarf, very busy. Second side of the scarf,
John Adams
John,
very happy that they've approved the character limit or increased the character limit.
Second side of the scarf is blank, since this is the only game of the international window for us.
I really find that annoying, I have to say. Because it's strange to be talking about the U.S. roster. Like, when I saw, like, oh, they're bringing the players into camp on Monday. And I was like, do they play tomorrow? Like, why do they need a week? This is crazy. And I understand why they do. I'm just used to them having 2 friendlies.
So if we're looking at this generously, maybe we would say Dave Sarkin just wants more time in camp than he does games.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Or more likely is that U.S. Soccer just didn't want to book another friendly?
I think that's it too.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like Belgium are only playing one in this window.
Yeah.
So there's that.
There is that. So we're as good as Belgium.
Yep.
So if you would like to get yourself a US soccer scarf,
good math.
Visit roughneckscarves.com. Use code TOTALSoccerShow, all one word. You will get 20% off. Other scarves are available as well. Other national team scarves, MLS scarves, USL scarves, NCAA scarves, all kinds of scarves at roughneckscarves.com.
There we are. So thank you to Roughneck Scarves for sponsoring today's program and to everyone who submitted their custom Roughneck Scarf ideas.
Yes.
Now let's talk international friendlies again, Daryl Grove, because we have each looked at the schedule and found some games that we're excited about.
There genuinely is some good games going on, right?
Indeed.
So since I did the Roughneck Scarf, the second half of the Roughneck Scarves ad read, I'm going to invite you to go first, Taylor. What game will you be paying attention to and why?
I might not be paying attention to it like as it happens, but I will definitely be checking the score and seeing what happened. Is going to be Russia v. Brazil in Russia at the Luzhniki Stadium.
I think Brazil are going to run up the score on Russia.
So I've seen a couple different previews talking about how, like, not saying that this will be, but that this is an opportunity for Russia to sort of like stake their claim because new manager whose name I still am struggling to get, Stanislav Cherchesov, I think it is. Can't say I know much about him, but is dealing with injuries to 3 of their key players, so they will miss the World Cup as well. So I think this is seen
all cruciate injuries is what I read, right?
Yeah,
I think
not great.
I wrote this down. Kokorin was the most recent one that was kind of heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, and then Victor Vasin, and the one that I'm guessing you avoided saying because it's Georgi Dizhikia?
Georgie, yeah.
Yeah, Georgie, of course, we all know. And so I've seen it written, though, as like, oh, but this is Russia's chance to go up against a Neymar-less Brazil, and that is theoretically a good idea. I think that is worse for Russia because... because
you get like a more team-oriented Brazil.
I think so. And you also get a Brazil team where you now have the opportunity for a couple different players to really establish themselves as leaders, establish themselves as the focal point of the attack, potentially, to the extent that I believe Brazil have already listed their starting 11 for this game, and it's pretty decent.
So this is the thing. Chiche, the new Brazil, well, no longer new, but the Brazil coach, seems very confident. I saw a story where he listed 15 of his 23-man World Cup squad and said, all right, the other 8 places are up for grabs. Yeah. And you just said he's named his 11 for this game, which doesn't take place until, tomorrow, right? Friday at noon, you said. He's already named this starting 11.
What was the Brazil paper or site that we were discussing the other day?
Globo Esporte.
And that was seen as like a very reliable source
according to my, some very brief Twitter survey that I did.
They're the ones who've posted the starting 11.
Okay.
So I didn't attempt to translate the Portuguese. I'm assuming it comes from somewhere, but it's basically Alisson and goal, Marcelo, Miranda, Thiago Silva, Dani Alves would be your back 4.
It's not bad.
4-3-3, the midfield 3 of Coutinho, Casemiro, Paulinho.
Like
and
it.
The attacking 3 of Douglas Costa, Gabriel Jesus, and Willian.
So Douglas Costa is the beneficiary of Neymar's absence, I would imagine.
It would seem, yeah.
Firmino not, interestingly.
Yeah, but on the bench.
Brazil's going to win the World Cup, aren't they?
Yes.
Just listening to that lineup.
That is, I mean, the only thing would be it's been disproven since then, but there's the idea of like non-European teams playing in a European World Cup is always a little bit difficult. If you've got a warm weather country playing in a cold weather climate, that can be an issue. That said, most of this Brazil team plays in areas where it gets pretty cold.
Yep.
So, I mean, I would say it shouldn't be too big of a factor. It just seems like Tite has this Brazil team really performing, has a very strong Brazil team across the board. There aren't that many areas of like obvious vulnerability.
There's a hardcore defensive midfielder in Casemiro. And there's a lot of, I would say, underappreciated but really good players like Fernandinho and Paulinho. So it's not all about Neymar in a way that maybe it was in 2014.
Yes,
yeah?
I think so. So I think it will be interesting to see what Brazil do in this game, how they handle Russia, and it will be interesting to see if Russia are able to get things going against Brazil.
Yep.
Because this could be the start of a bad period for Russia, potentially. Not that they're already not in a bad period, their football team at least. But if they struggle in these friendlies, really don't get things going, it would be difficult for them to pick up momentum in time for the start of the tournament.
Agree. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that game. Another game I'll be watching, this is my first pick here, is Argentina Italy. So this is Friday, 3:45 p.m. This is on beIN Sports. beIN Sports obviously looked at the Netherlands-England game and thought, no, we'll take Leo Messi. We'll take Leo Messi.
Yeah.
How about that? So the reason I'm excited about this, Jorge Sampaoli, Argentina coach. He came in June 2017. I think he had, I wrote it down, I'm not sure how many, he had 4 qualifiers, and it was essentially a rescue job for Argentina's World Cup qualification, right?
And how quickly these things fade.
Right, so he's done that. He just about got them there in the British sense, which means he did get them there.
Yeah.
Leo Messi hat-trick, I believe, in the final game. But now he's got this time to sort of build a Sampaoli team and get them playing like a Sampaoli team, which you remember Chile, they're sort of high-pressure cyberpunks and all that. They were thrilling to watch. He has been playing 3-4-3 with Argentina or 3-4-2-1. And here's what's great with this roster. He has dropped Mauro Icardi and Paulo Dybala. He has dropped both of them. And he's even commented on it as well. He said that for Dybala, he said, it's complicated for him to get used to our plan. So he's essentially saying we're going to try it without him, and we'll see if it works without him. And the plan is obviously very intense, a lot of sort of hard running. It seems that maybe Dybala doesn't fit, so Dybala doesn't get to stay. Because Argentina are not short of attacking options. They don't need Sampaoli doesn't need someone who's not going to execute his game plan.
So I'm just trying to think, though, who do you think then we do see in that attack for Argentina?
So Higuain is selected, and it seems like in the so 3-4-3 is often like 3-4-2-1, right? So definitely Higuain at the top, and probably Leo Messi underneath, along with another attacking midfielder.
That's the question, right?
Yeah. The guy I'm excited about is recent addition to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network and first call-up for Argentina, Lautaro Martinez, who is with Racing. Yeah.
He did the crazy move.
Do you see that on Twitter as well?
Did.
It's like a weird sort of bounce it off yourself. He like bounced it off his own shin to nutmeg someone.
To then send himself the other way.
Yeah.
That's the key part of it, yeah.
Really, really good. So he could suddenly sort of explode onto the scene.
But so you think Higuain and not Sergio Aguero? Could Sergio Aguero potentially be one of those two?
Aguero is struggling for fitness. Sampaoli said we may get to see him in this game against Italy, or we may not. So I think it's just going to depend how fit he is. But yeah, you could see Higuain with Aguero and Messi underneath.
Decent.
For example.
Decent.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see an Argentina Sampaoli team, because I'm very interested in the idea of Argentina not just being Messi will do something. I'm interested in seeing an Argentina team that has a really specific strategy and plan and system, and Messi just happens to be a part of it, which is what, if we're honest, the best Barcelona teams were not just give it to Messi, see what he does, right? It was the things that Guardiola wanted Barcelona doing.
Yeah, it's another one where maybe if you're not building it all around the one player, maybe you have more success as a result.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's interesting in this is that we haven't really talked about their opponent at all, but I think there is reason, because when you're talking about an Italy team that are eliminated from the World Cup, I didn't really think about this. You're the one who pointed this out. There would be some expectation that you've got interim manager, new manager, that, okay, we're going to try some different stuff. We're going to have young people in there.
Who was the under-21 coach? Di Biagio was the under-21 coach who has now got the full-time job. So you would expect him to bring a load of under-21 players up, right?
You would, and you've got a couple, but not nearly as many as you would think. And I have a feeling that we won't see as many of them as we probably should.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if maybe we see Donnarumma against England and we see Buffon against Argentina.
Yep.
Thank you. But it still was surprising to me that so much of this roster was 26, 27, 28, 29 and not 20, 21, and 22.
Yeah, strange, right? So, yeah, we'll see how they do. But I think, to me, Argentina's more interesting because it's Argentina.
Yep, that works.
What else are you paying attention to?
I mean, one that's almost as high profile as Argentina, Italy is Scotland, Costa Rica. I'm excited to see Scotland, which is a strange thing to say. Kind of, because Alex McLeish takes over Scotland. As I recall, that was what kind of first brought him to prominence before he became the next IT manager in the Premier League, and then that all bombed out, and then he was the IT manager in the Championship. But it seems like he has experience with Scotland, and it seems like it was positive experience. But you look at the Scotland team, Scott Brown retired, Darren Fletcher not in the squad. So you've got, as we've talked about previously, Scott McTominay, Ollie McBurney from Swansea, Barry Douglas from Wolverhampton, Aberdeen defender Scott McKenna, Celtic defender Jack Hendry. That's an average age of 22.6. 0 caps between all of them. Yep. So you've got
Barry Douglas brings the average up as well because he's 28.
He is. He's the one that makes it not 21. Everybody else is 21 or 20. So thanks, Barry. Or maybe 22. But either way. So it's a young Scotland team with some exciting talent in there. And I think it's been a while since we've seen that from Scotland. And then for Costa Rica, Costa Rica, as a CONCACAF representative, I'm always wanting them to do well.
And get some regional points.
And yes, that's how it works, right? Is that not?
Kind of.
But it is also kind of the same thing as I was briefly talking about with Brazil. I think when you are a CONCACAF team, a Central American CONCACAF team, you probably do want to go try to get some experiences away in Europe because I don't think Costa Rica get many of those opportunities.
I think it's cold in Scotland as well right now, so that's a good a good test to go and see some Scottish weather.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that it's all about temperature, even though I seem to keep going back to that. But you know what I mean? I feel like Costa Rica we don't hear about them playing a lot of friendlies around Europe or in Asia. Like, it seems like it tends to be...
Is that because we're not paying attention, though?
It might well be. That is a distinct possibility. But it seems like it's a smart move by them to go out and face a lot of European competition in the lead up to this World Cup.
I wonder if Costa Rican fans and media are having the same conversation that we often have for the US, which is like, oh, we're doing fine in the Hex. We've got CONCACAF on lockdown. Let's go and see and test ourselves in Europe.
And aren't they the ones that like every team in England's group has scheduled a friendly against to prepare for Panama?
Yes. Yeah, I think because Michael Cox and Markin basically said a lot of national teams schedule their friendlies according to geographic proximity to your World Cup group opponent.
It's basically they like open a map, look at the country they're playing against, look at the countries around them, and pick one to play a friendly against. And you can kind of see some of that in some of these games.
So, Costa Rica are playing England, Tunisia, and Belgium as they all prepare for Panama.
Sure.
Good for Costa Rica, though. That's good World Cup prep for them.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Okay, I mentioned earlier Argentina, Italy. Argentina's second game is against Spain. That's a game worth watching, right? So that will be, next Tuesday? Tuesday it's Argentina versus
Spain is doing some stuff because Spain have Germany as their first game.
That's what I want to talk about. So before it's Argentina-Spain, on Friday, 3:45 on ESPN3, which is essentially the ESPN website, Spain versus Germany. Spain, always interesting because they're one of those teams with too much talent. Someone always gets left out. This time round, it's Alvaro Morata is left out. Diego Costa is back in for for Spain versus Germany.
Yeah, and we would say that's not that big of a surprise, right? Diego Costa going back to Atletico, getting results, getting playing time.
He was on vacation, right? From August to December 31st, 2017. The man was on vacation.
I mean,
now he's back.
Yeah. Well, I guess January 1st at midnight, he was no longer on vacation. But meanwhile, Alvaro Morata struggling with injuries, struggling with minutes, struggling with overall form. I would say, so it's not like that big of a surprise not to see him, but it is probably a decent commentary on how much his status has changed in the last 6 months or so.
And honestly, if Diego Costa puts in a performance against Germany, if he sort of bullies Mats Hummels, which is probably who he'll be up against, then it's a long way back for Alvaro Morata.
It is.
Right?
It's also
Costa's chance to really grab that number 9.
That's what I was going to say. It's also like a weird sort of like shot at redemption for him because obviously 2014 did not go well for Spain. So, and that was Diego Costa, for those who don't know, born in Brazil. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to remind everybody, like, no, this is why you all wanted me to lead the attack. And maybe he does that against Germany. So
I've just realized I can't watch all these games because this is the exact same time as the Netherlands-England game. But on the other side of this game, Germany, you're going to see a Germany with probably Leroy Sané and Timo Werner. So suddenly, you think of Germany a lot of ways. You never think of them just being all about pace, right? And not all about pace, but suddenly they've got two very fast attacking players in Sané and Werner. I think you're going to see basically, I'm interested to look at Germany to see what they're going to look like for the World Cup, and I think they're going to be quicker than they used to be.
That makes sense. They still have Mario Gomez in there. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get.
He's not so fast.
Not so much. But that might be a 80th minute. We need a goal. Let's get him in there to win a set piece.
Yep. So there you go. Spain, Germany, Friday 3:45, and then Spain, Argentina on Tuesday.
I'm just going to continue to go with hipster picks here because I am also excited to see what happens in Portugal v Egypt.
Ooh,
this is another one where
that.
I think you'll disagree with me a little bit, but I feel like for Egypt, they're playing Russia, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. That's their group. Maybe looking at Portugal as like, well, it's like an overall good team. Obviously, the reigning European champions, but like not always like the strongest of opponents. So maybe that's preparation for Russia. Who knows?
I think everyone knows Portugal's a superior team to Russia. I think they're just playing Portugal because it's good to play Portugal.
Yeah,
right?
that's probably
Test
true.
yourself against Cristiano Ronaldo, for example.
And that's the big thing, obviously, that it comes down to. I think every preview has gone with this one because it's Mo Salah versus Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, because they'll be marking each other, right?
That's how it works. Yeah, your best players have to mark each other at all times. But I think it'll be exciting because I can't claim...
I apologize for my sarcasm, listeners.
No, it's all good. I think they appreciate it. I can't claim to know too much about Egypt because I didn't watch them in qualifying. I know a few of their players, obviously, but...
I watch a lot of videos of Egyptian men celebrating Egypt's qualification.
It's always a good thing to see. Whenever grown men celebrate
things, Salah penalty, right? Everyone went wild.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So I will look forward to seeing what, like, Salah is able to do against that Portugal defense, what Cristiano Ronaldo is able to do against an Egypt side that I'm not familiar with, but aim to be more familiar with after this game.
It's a good way to get to know the Egyptian defenders, actually, is to watch them try and contain Cristiano Ronaldo.
And to see like what they do, because this is a team where you still have Cristiano Ronaldo is still sort of the focal point, even if he wasn't in the Euros, even if he is like can sub out and coach from the sideline as well. It still seems like he will be the player that when he's on the pitch is going to be screaming for the ball.
I've just realised I actually do know some Egyptian defenders. Hegazi plays for West Brom, gigantic centre-back. And I believe, there's a right-back whose name I can't remember. He used to play for Hull City, he now plays for Aston Villa. I want to say it's El Mohammadi.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So we will know some of these Egyptian defenders.
El Neni as well is going to be a holding midfielder for them.
Okay, so suddenly the Egyptian team takes shape.
Just because we know 4 players with vague Premier League connections, I'm not sure if that means it takes shape. But that's kind of what I mean, though, is like that's the first wave of getting to know your World Cup squads and teams is to look at like, I know him. Yep. And then you start to round it out. And then that's kind of my favorite part of the World Cup is that guy for Egypt who's playing in the Dutch league, but he's been scoring a bunch of goals and he looks really good. And then suddenly he gets a big money move after the tournament is over. It's nice to like learn about them before the tournament happens. So when they start to do these things, you can say, I knew him when 2 months before the tournament.
I knew him when.
Yeah.
So we've crossed off all the games I wanted to talk about.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got 2 more.
Okay.
I'll talk about them briefly.
Take me there.
One is Belgium v Saudi Arabia. Belgium, as we said, are one of the teams that only have one friendly. That is, I think, on Tuesday night. But the interesting thing, this one... Two interesting things, I would say. The first one comes from that Guardian preview that we talked about. I can't remember if it was on air or off, but the Guardian have a good 10 things to watch for. One of them was
that
basically
Martin Lawrence?
Maybe? No, I think it was Paul Doyle and somebody else.
Yes,
Martin Lawrence
right.
one was about who should start for England at center back. But their point was that Axel Witsel is still the starting holding midfielder for Belgium.
Is he really?
Even with that move to China. But Moussa Dembele has had such a strong season. Raja Nangolan is still doing very well for Roma. So the question
I'm 2 thumbs up on Moussa Dembele. I think he's a fantastic player.
So I think we'll see maybe each of them get a half, and we'll see what happens in terms of who maybe cements themselves in that role.
You know what I'd be looking for Belgium as well? Dries Mertens, is he going to play centre forward as he has been for Napoli? Because that was like a late career change to centre forward that suddenly has really worked out.
Yep.
Is that on your piece of paper?
It is on my piece of paper because...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal
No, not at all. It's actually not really about Dries Mertens. It's about Eden Hazard. Roberto Martinez came out today with a quote...
Belgium coach, for those who don't know.
Thank you. Eden Hazard is not a false 9 for me, and I'm not going to use him in that position for Belgium. We have Romelu, Michi, and Dries. So I think that's your answer, is that he's listing him as a striker, basically.
Is that his depth chart, though? Because that's quite... Dries is quite deep on that in the end, right?
Yeah.
And Michy Batshuayi is in really good form. Lukaku's doing just fine. So, wow, Belgium have options. England, get your defence together.
Yeah, they've got that De Bruyne fellow as well.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. They're decent. And I'm assuming they're still starting 14 centre backs across their defence.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a lack of Belgian fullbacks in there.
Always is.
What else you got? You said you had a second one?
I do. I forgot what it is. Oh, it's France v Colombia. Because Colombia, just from our quote-unquote recent viewing of them, that would be Copa America Centenario, but just the way that they play as a collective unit, do you remember springing the trap?
Yes.
It seems
not in the way you think of the offside trap, right?
No.
It's like they load up the press, almost like they pull everybody back and they release the spring and come at you. Yeah.
But they're a team that plays a system and plays it well against a France team that notoriously is all over the place.
Yeah.
They have tons of talent, but it's difficult to figure out how to get it all on the field in the right positions.
Yep.
And it can go disastrously wrong, or it can be beautiful and flowing soccer. So I'm very curious to see how erratic but incredibly talented national team does against talented and well-drilled national team.
That's interesting. I read a preview of this this World Cup window. Sorry, international friendly window by Henry Bushnell from Yahoo Sports, and he did 11 things to watch for. It was a really good story. I'll link to it in the show notes. How about that?
That works.
One of the things he said was France have selection problems, but of the good kind. Essentially, it's the opposite of what England have got. They've got sort of too many good players to try and squeeze into one team. So it makes them interesting just to look at the team sheet, right? Because you're like, is Kylian Mbappe there? Is Paul Pogba there? How are they gonna fit all these players together?
Yeah, I get that idea. I still think that if you can get the England players to embrace essentially being Burnley,
Yeah.
I think you're in a stronger position. I genuinely do.
Than France are with all that talent.
As insane as that sounds, yes. Because if you're approaching it with like, look, we got to be defensively solid. We're going to sit back. Then we're going to move forward and try to frustrate on the counter.
Yeah.
Versus like, how do we get Paul Pogba and every one of our other million attacking players in there to make it work? And Antoine Griezmann sometimes works, but we can't have him. He needs to be in a 4-4-2 or in a front two, but not a front three.
They have a lot of awkward jigsaw players.
Yep.
Right? Like Paul Pogba sort of has to be in a midfield three, or at least that's the best we've seen him play, right?
But then in a specific part of a midfield three, and then like, do you start Olivier Giroud? Do you try new players like Ben Yedder? Like, it's just, there's so many options that I feel like at a certain point it can be... it's like I was talking to you about this yesterday. This is a weird reference, but like Bill Hader talking about how
we've already done Street Fighter 2.
There we go. But Bill Hader was talking about his most recent SNL monologue.
Yes.
And they like, kind of rewrote it on the fly, and it was John Mulaney and Lorne Michaels being like, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" And he's like, "Guys, at some point we got to figure this out. Like, we can't just keep throwing out ideas. We're going live in about 10 minutes." So I feel like that's the same thing.
So SNL goes live at like 11:31 p.m. Eastern on a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
If the World Cup starts at 11:31 p.m. Eastern, what time is it for Didier Deschamps and his French national team right now?
I think like this is the beginning of dress rehearsal. Is what I'm gonna say. Like,
it's like Saturday morning.
You still got time to change it, but you gotta kind of got to have more or less the idea of what you're gonna do, and you don't want to be like, oh, none of these sketches worked. We're in trouble.
We're gonna say late Saturday morning, maybe like.
Oh no, I think it's Saturday afternoon. I believe Saturday afternoon, early evening is I think when they do dress.
Oh, I don't think John Mulaney can help them either.
I don't know. Stefan might be able to. He probably knows some good French clubs.
This season's hottest midfielder is. All right. So, shout out to that Guardian article you mentioned.
Spud Webb doing double duty.
the Guardian article you mentioned for the wonderful like preview type description of Ben Yedder as a wriggly predator.
There we go.
That is writing. Great stuff. Great stuff there.
Well done.
Anything else you want to spotlight before we move on?
Just for those wondering, no, I did not forget Dimitri Payet for France. He is not in the squad.
That's how many options they have, right?
Yeah, he's another one. Like France, Germany. Who was the other one we looked at that we were like, good lord, like even with the players they didn't call in. Oh, I think it was Brazil.
Yeah, could also be Argentina, who can afford to leave Dybala and Icardi out. Apparently,
yikes,
yeah.
Yikes. Some teams have depth. Some teams have good problems.
Okay, so we're going to try and watch as much of that as we can over the weekend. We'll be back on Monday for sure with a USA-Paraguay preview where we'll try and maybe select our starting 11. Taylor's just sort of hurriedly picked up a piece of paper with a lot of games on it.
I have, because it's one we didn't mention, but we did mention Costa Rica. We mentioned Panama briefly. I do not know who Mexico were playing, but it will be interesting because, by all accounts, it seems like Jonathan Gonzalez is going to be incredibly important for this Mexico team, or at least that is the expectation heading into these friendlies.
So he got some minutes in there like January camp game, right? But this is him with the full Mexican team, and we'll see if he establishes himself. A couple of good games here and he's in the World Cup squad, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and so I think that's what he is. I think Mexico v. Iceland is what I've got there.
There we go. Well, that's interesting.
It is indeed. And so, I mean, I'm not looking forward to it by any stretch, but it is interesting to see how well he blends in with that team, and if he does become a very important player for them in the lead up to the World Cup.
I think I mentioned this to you off air. Now he's made his decision, and there's no going back, right? Because he's one-time switched. There's no way to get him back to the United States. We may as well wish him the best of luck and hope he succeeds.
For now.
I mean, until we play them. Obviously, if we're playing them in any sort of tournament or friendly or anything, then obviously we wish the best to the United States. But I mean, one, he's like 50% American, right? Not that you can do these things by percentage, right? But the kid's American. So I want to see him succeed at a World Cup. The second thing is, I feel like it might be a lesson to anyone at US Soccer who's a little bit sort of not motivated enough, or a little bit laissez-faire, or not rating Jonathan Gonzalez highly enough, or not putting in enough effort, essentially. It'll be a lesson to them if he really does succeed big time. If he's one of the big names after the World Cup, then there'll be no like, he wasn't that good, that's why we didn't go after him.
It's when
Derek Jones scored that goal in the USL. He's doing fine.
When you start to remove justifications is when you end up having to get to the root of the matter, is my feeling.
Yes.
And so, like,
you said that so much more eloquently than I did.
Oh, thank you. Because I feel like right now it's sort of, he is in the Giuseppe Rossi sort of area of like, look, we lost him, but he didn't go on to like win the World Cup for Italy. Yeah, we lost Neven Subotic, but he didn't win the World Cup for Serbia. Not saying Mexico are going to win the World Cup, but I do think Jonathan Gonzalez, it's going to be very difficult, I think, in the very near future. striker to be able to say, like, he wasn't that good. He's just anchoring Mexico's midfield at a World Cup.
But I would prefer not to be able to say that. I would rather be able to say he is that good.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, but
I feel like when that happens, and I think it's a when, not an if, I do think then it removes that ability from people in U.S. soccer to be able to say, like, well, look, he wasn't that good. Like, we're not missing out on much. You kind of have to come face to face with, yes, he's amazing. Yes, he's starting in a World Cup. Yes, he should be starting for the United States and isn't. And we made some mistakes, and we're not going to let that happen again.
So then they have to say, yes, we should have called him up to the U20 World Cup, and yes, we should have made more effort that last November when we didn't.
Or even if they don't want to go retroactive and look at it that way, I think it still has to be, yes, we should have, and thus in the future, yes, we will.
That's it. Yes, that's it. Okay, you can remove the earmuffs now. Anyone who didn't want to hear about Jonathan Gonzalez.
Yes. Anybody who's rocking in the fetal position while crying, I apologize.
Instead, we're going to spotlight some other players who may be the future of the US men's national team, maybe, with the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
Let's get to it, shall we? Starting with John Ramaswamy, scouting Sam Rogers, the 18-year-old American center back for the Seattle Sounders, or S2. Big Sam, that threw me for a minute when I read that. I was like, who is he coaching now? Big Sam started and captained the S2 squad to a 2-1 victory over T2. That'd be the Portland Timbers 2.
The Cascadia 2 derby.
Yes. In their USL opener this past Friday, Sam was also called into the US U20 camp for their upcoming friendlies or ongoing friendlies against the French U20s and Atletico Madrid U21s.
The US Under-20s lost 2-0 to the French U20s, right?
For more on that, you can listen to the Top Drawer Soccer Show, which I'm guessing will be out slightly after this episode of the Total Soccer Show.
There we go. Or maybe by the time people get to listening to this point, you'll have already published it.
That would make more sense.
Yeah. So please subscribe and listen to the Top Drawer Soccer Show. Michael Hastings Black is scouting Paxton Pamukal, the 18-year-old American midfielder for FC Dallas. Michael says that Paxton Pamukal made his 2018 MLS debut this past weekend, coming off the bench in Dallas's 3-0 win over the Seattle Sounders. Pamukal also turned down a recent call-up to the US U20s. FC Dallas technical director Fernando Clavijo noted, this means that Oscar Pereira plans to have him in the 18 for our game against Portland on Saturday. Oscar feels more and more comfortable with him. Yes, go on, Paxton Pamukal.
First of all, end quote. Second of all, yes,
it's actually unquote.
End quote, unquote. And the unquoting. I'll move on. Matt Compton, scouting Juan Pablo Torres, 18-year-old American midfielder for Sporting La Corene. Juan Pablo started for the US U20s as part of a 3-man midfield featuring Andrew Carlton and Chris Goslin.
Thumbs up.
In their friendly against France. Well, according to Adam Bell's Scuffed on Twitter, all three struggled with the physicality of their French counterparts and the US lost 2-0. It is worth noting that 15 of the 22 players on the French roster were born in 1997 or 1998, making them older and likely larger than their American counterparts. And to clarify, Torres was born in 1999, Goslin and Carlton in 2000.
This was our U17 team not so long ago, right? There's suddenly our U20 team, a lot of these.
And again, that year or two very much can make a difference, especially when you're talking the difference between a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old.
Yep, fair enough. All right, Connor Davis is scouting Connor Ronan, the 19-year-old Irish midfielder / defender on loan at Portsmouth from Wolverhampton. Connor says that
the Wolverhampton Wolves. I left that out. I apologize.
The Wolverhampton Wolfpack.
SC.
Connor says that Connor Ronan started and got an assist in Pompey's 2-0 win over Oldham. Portsmouth are now only 5 points outside the playoff spots, and Ronan is likely to get more minutes in the near future as Pompey have more than a few injuries to deal with. Plus, Connor Ronan's real good, so they should play him.
Also that. James Pearson scouting Mason Toye, the 19-year-old American striker from Minnesota United. It took some translating, but we were eventually able to learn that Mason got a yellow for time wasting in an 8-minute cameo in Minnesota's 2-1 win over Chicago.
Yeah, James, you've got to be clearer with what's going on in the scouting reports. Jeff Markman, thanks for sending that. Jeff Markman is scouting Reece Nelson, the 18-year-old English midfielder at Arsenal. Jeff says that Reece Nelson scored a brace for the Young Lions in a 4-1 victory over the Hungary U19s, including a stunning left-footed strike to the top corner to put England U19s ahead for good after they'd fallen behind 1-0 in the first half. Worth noting, he is not left-footed. Jeff also wanted to clarify that Nelson isn't out of contract this summer, but rather in the summer of 2019.
I think in his last scouting report, he indicated that he might be another one to leave Arsenal on a free this summer. That wouldn't happen until next summer.
There we go.
Hopefully, if you're an Arsenal fan, not even then.
Can I say, I saw this goal. I liked it.
There we go. You can, and you have. Ryan Marzak scouting Josh Onoma, the 20-year-old English attacking midfielder on loan at Aston Villa from Tottenham. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you.
I can see it says the English Modric.
There we go.
Yeah.
I just know that at some point it's going to be in there, so I just want to make sure that you get to say it.
I see that Ryan had written it, so I was gonna just wait.
That has never stopped you before. The English Modric.
Sometimes I zag when you think I'm going to zig.
Even just then, good job. I like that one. Huzzah. The English Modric has been struggling for minutes with his last appearance for Villa coming way back on February 24th. Luckily, he was called up to the England U21 squad for their friendly against Romania on March 24th, which is being called the Cyril Regis International in honor of him, and for their Euro U21 qualifier against Ukraine on March 27th.
All right. Ryan Marzak is also scouting Pione Sisto, the 23-year-old Danish attacker for Celta Vigo. Ryan says Pione Sisto continues to struggle on the pitch and has only recorded 2 goals and 0 assists in 2018. Despite his struggles in La Liga, Pione did receive a call-up to the Danish national team for their friendly matches against Panama and Chile. This will be his last opportunity to impress manager Agar Harid before the May 14th provisional roster deadline. I'd been wondering when the specific date was.
Yep. Ryan had that for us, and that is how I knew that these were the last friendlies when we started talking about that earlier. So thank you to Ryan for that. Thank you to Mason Posner for scouting Reece Oxford, the 19-year-old English defender for Borussia Mönchengladbach. I like this because when the scouting reports populate, they're in a big Excel spreadsheet or Google Excel, whatever it is.
Yeah. Google fake Excel spreadsheet.
There we go. And there was a long report about Reece Oxford about how he hadn't been playing, how he didn't feature, what the issue might be. And the follow-up one was basically Reece Oxford has been injured with a hamstring injury. That's why he hasn't been seeing any action for Borussia Mönchengladbach lately.
That's good clarification.
So well done, Mason.
Robert Newman is scouting Mason Mount, the 19-year-old English midfielder on loan at Vitesse from Chelsea.
Robert the most says, Masons ever in a scouting report, I think.
Mason Mount has continued to start regularly in the Eredivisie for Vitesse and under call-up to that same England U19 team as Reece Nelson for the start of the elite round of qualifying for this summer's U19 European Championships. He started over TSS fave Phil Foden in England's 4-1 win over Hungary, opening the scoring for England with a goal from 12 yards out in the second half. He also provided 2 assists for Reece Nelson in that match. England have games remaining against Latvia and Macedonia, and it's safe to say that Mason Mount will be involved.
So thank you to Mason Mount, Mason Posner, and Mason Toy for being involved in the scouting reports today.
Thank you to everybody. Yeah. If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scout Network, it's totalsoccershow.com/join. If you have joined and you're waiting for your player, email me Daryl@totalsoccershow.com. Daryl, just like that movie with the robot boy.
Beautiful.
Right? Throws the baseball through the window?
No idea what you're talking about.
Really? We're going to have to watch this at some point. It's probably not as good as I remember.
Daryl and the Robot Boy?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, there's a movie about a robot boy called Daryl from the 80s.
We've discussed this?
Yes.
You and I have discussed this.
Maybe not on the show, but at some point.
Maybe I've had it professionally removed from my brain then.
You eternal sunshined it.
Possibly.
Okay, so Taylor, this is the last show of the week.
I'm genuinely concerned that I've forgotten this conversation.
This is the last show of the week because your memory's fading.
Clearly.
We need to recharge it.
Yeah.
But also because we're not sure if we're going to be able to watch that Netherlands-England game a second time or because you're going to be coaching at the time, right? We're not sure our listeners can watch it, so we're not going to be able to review it. But we will be back on Monday with our USA-Paraguay preview, and we'll maybe take a look around at everything that's happened in the international break.
I would say that's a safe bet.
And if anyone uses the word interlull, I'm coming after you. There's no lull before the World Cup.
I was frantically trying to think of more cliches to use before we ended the show, but I couldn't really think of any, didn't really want to force any in there, and also didn't want to hurt your brain.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
And Daryl, thank you for having a well-organized Total Soccer Show.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.